Hey everybody, Ketwalski here, checking in with another one of our hashtag Star Trek discussions videos. This is actually going to be the final video of my defense, my stalwart epic defense of Star Trek Generations. And I'm today going to be talking about one particular issue that came up during my research of Star Trek Generations and different topics to discuss. An issue that I didn't actually think was a problem in the film, but many bloggers and article writers have discussed this as an issue. So I wanted to go ahead and address this right now and basically cross this one off the list of other things that people complain about that I don't think are worth complaining about. And that is, of course, Data's emotions / his emotion chip during the film of Star Trek Next Generation. So first thing first, we're going to go ahead and go through a little bit of history on the emotion chip, how it affected him initially when he put it in, and then what happened to him towards the end of the film and why it was he was acting so erratically during Generations. Okay, so most people know that Data and his brother Lore and even his brother B4 were all androids created by Dr. Noonien Soong. He did this off-world after he was released from jail for some augment issues that he was dealing with at the time. So all of these androids were developed by Dr. Soong in his likeness, and then each iteration of them were much different and had expanded upon on each other. And Data and Lore were the two most advanced ones. Data and Lore being very, very different. You guys may remember Lore from TNG episodes and stuff like that. He had a couple really good two-parters there, and we actually wound up dismantling him towards the end after he turned Data against his crew, and then they wound up coming back together. Oh, that's a long story. Anyways, in the year 2366, Dr. Soong actually completed the emotion chip, which you see pictured here, that was supposed to be implanted in Data before he was sent off and to join the Federation. This thing would allow him to basically reactivate his ethical program and his emotional program and allow him to better interact with humans that he so desperately wanted. That's a big theme during not only the Star Trek TNG show, but also in the movie Star Trek Generations. So in the show, he picks this particular emotion chip up. Lore steals it from him. He doesn't put it inside of his ears or inside of his neck after he gets it back from Lore. Instead, he almost destroys it, but Commander LaForge tells him, no, hey, why don't you just wait? You never know, you may want to use it one day. And that's actually what takes place in Star Trek Generations. In the year 2371, which is the year Generations takes place, the emotion chip looks obviously much different. It looks more like a computer chip as opposed to like a little film disc that it did in the show. I don't really care so much about that. But anyways, Data is still very nervous about putting it in, but because of his recent inability to connect with the crew, that's highlighted at the beginning of the film, he decides, hey, you know what? I want to put this in and at least see what happens. If anything, I can always just take it out. Or could he? And that kind of brings us to where we begin the downfall of Data's character in the film, and why I guess a lot of people felt like it was bizarre for him to be acting a certain way. If you guys recall, right after he put the chip in his head, LaForge and Data go down to 10 forward, and he goes to drink some liquor. The guy then pours him a drink. He says, "Yes, I hate this," and then she's like, "Another," and he goes, "Yes, please," and it's like that's the whole joke there. As the movie progresses, though, we start to see that Data is slowly devolving, and his ability to control his emotions get less and less. This, of course, culminates in Data and LaForge being on top of the observatory that they captured, or not captured, but they rescued Dr. Sauron from at the beginning of Star Trek Generations. In this sequence, Data cannot control his laughter, and what actually happens is that the emotion chip overloads his positronic neural pathways and becomes embedded inside of his positronic brain, and he's unable to simply remove it, and that causes his emotions to run rampant. Now, the reason I bring this particular point up is because a lot of the people were criticizing why Data was, acting all funny and why he got so afraid at the wrong time. He wasn't doing his job he's been around humans for so long. Why wouldn't he be able to easily mimic human emotions? And for that, I would say, number one, it's a lot easier to observe somebody than it is to actually perform something. So performing emotions for the first time is, of course, going to be much more difficult. And number two, like we just said, that the emotion chip overloaded his positronic pathways and wound up screwing with his mind and his ability to control his emotions / his ethical program. And that is exemplified perfectly in not only this scene where Geordi gets captured by Dr. Sauron and Data is too afraid to get up and save his friend. He goes from laughing to totally terrified. That's two big emotions, laughing from totally terrified. And then in the next scene where we see Picard and Data in the observatory room that's on the Enterprise D, where they're trying to investigate what's going on with Sauron, Data tells Picard that he is wanting to be relieved from duty. and that he is unable to complete his tasks because he cannot control his emotions. And Picard basically slaps him on the dick and tells him, listen, part of having emotions is learning to deal with them. And in this scene, it is such a powerful scene. It's probably the best scene in the film, to be honest. In this scene, Data goes through survivor's guilt. He has fear for his abilities and for the fact that he let Geordi be taken. He's afraid of his own emotions. He's scared. He's hurt. And he's being a coward. And then while all of those things are happening, he then gets the rousing speech from Picard, something that he's heard Picard do so many times during his tenure on the Enterprise, but never actually connected with, except for this moment where Picard's emotional rattling speech gets Data over that hump of emotions. He sacks up, and he realizes and he learns to deal with the fact that he is having all these human-like emotions, and that he can move forward, and that he has to trust in his own abilities in order to complete that task. And that's why I think people criticizing Brent Spiner's acting and also Data's emotions that are portrayed in the film as goofy and stupid, because he makes a lot of stupid jokes and stuff like that, and they're like, why is he acting this way? I think that that's normal. You know, he's experiencing emotions for the very first time. He's dealing with a overload on his positronic pathways, and his best friend just got kidnapped because he was too afraid to do anything, even though he would not have even been hurt. Really, if Sauron actually shot him, he could have easily incapacitated him, but he was too afraid to do anything, and he knows that. So when you put all these things together, like, all of his actions actually make sense to me personally. You know, I mean, he's even excited at the end of the film when they destroy the Klingon ship. And, you know, when the ship's about to crash into the planet, he goes, you know, famously, oh shit. And it's a big thing, and he's really learning how to deal with the emotions, in my opinion. I don't think it's weird. I don't think it's overdone. I don't think it's out of place. I think it's perfect, and it represents exactly what someone who's dealing with these things for the very first time was going to be going through. Anyways, that's my feelings about this issue. Like I said, this is the last video I'm going to make in regards to Star Trek Generations. We are going to be moving on to Star Trek Insurrection next, and my stalwart defense of that is going to be much shorter and probably only include one video because it's hard for me to defend Insurrection. But anyways, I hope that you guys and gals like this video. I'm really curious to hear what all of you think about this. Do you think that Data's emotions during the film were overplayed? Do you think that Brent Spiner didn't do a very good job? Or do you feel like they were appropriate for what was going on in the situations that were occurring in the film? I'm really curious to hear what you guys and gals think about it. Please throw a like and a subscribe up on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter at RealCatWalski. And follow me on Facebook at Facebook.com at Facebook at RealCatWalski, whatever. Live long and prosper, my Trekkies!